Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Keeping It Real with Mary. I hope you had a wonderful week. Um, we have a special guest, as you can see, he's not a co-host. It's a dear friend of mine. Her name is Mrs. Delia Chase. We have a special topic on which we want to talk on today, and this is an outreach we're going to be doing. But basically, it's about something we don't hear a lot about, and it's called lupus. Um, it's sad to say that our dear friend Delia lost her son last year, October, I think 2 days or so after his birthday. But what we would like to do, we would let Delia give us a little bit on Josh. Well, we call him Josh as a nickname, but his name is Joshua Hines. So, Delia, tell us a little bit about Josh, our young man who would have turned 18 and would have done tremendously well before his unfortunate passing. Um,
Yeah,
Tell us a bit about Joshua.
right. Well, as you rightfully said, it was just a day after really his 17th birthday that he passed away. So up until that point, even before becoming ill, which was around like somewhere in June, when he started to feel tired and experience like mild joint pains and different things. We even did a few doctor appointments with him. We did the Coverly medical with him as well, and even then, the doctors there were baffled because he didn't have any symptoms of anything to say that he was ill. He was just basically complaining of feeling very tired, like almost to the point where he could not even get out of his bed to have breakfast or anything like that. And it was unusual for him, knowing my son, it was unusual. He played basketball, he was
Hmm.
a karateka. He had also gone all the way to attain his black belt in karate. He's represented
Hmm. Hmm.
Barbados in Carifta in chess, Carifta in karate,
Yes.
and his basketball competitions for Queens College where he attended. So he's always been very active from the time he was very small. He played football. He was once called out by the Chelsea football team in the UK here locally as a young boy, but he wasn't interested in playing football professionally. So
Hmm.
Joshua was very active. So having him just fall suddenly feeling like that, it was unusual. He was not a child that got ill either. He didn't even catch the common cold. Um, there was a time when chikungunya was a thing. Everyone in the house got sick. Joshua never contracted it. He was fine the entire time. He just never
Hmm.
was a sick child. So, no
Hmm.
other things bothered him other than the basic eczema and allergies, sinus, that type of stuff, but nothing warranted him for him to be ill. I have my daughter who's usually the one that would have gotten sick back then. She's asthmatic and she used to get sick quite often. So
Hmm.
we could have never phantomed anything we were to experience last June up until his passing. But he was a very fun-loving child. His energy was amazing. Everybody that interacted with him, even after he was gone, we learned so much more too about people who came and said, like his friends at school said, when everybody laughed at them or when they were neglected by other people, Joshua was the one that would come to them and say, "Come and sit with me and have lunch." Or if he can tell that something's wrong with them, he's not going to leave them until they say what's going on with them and help them talk it through. We heard so many amazing stories about this child, and it was very, although you don't want to hear it in that light, it was very
Hmm.
heartwarming to get those stories about this child that we raised thinking, you know, he was shortened on his life. So what did we do? Where did we miss something? And the honest truth is that a lot of it, besides the missing of him every single second of the day, the truth is Joshua really did serve his purpose in my opinion. I really feel like if after hearing all that we did, after and knowing him, he gave so much to people he didn't know, strangers.
Yeah.
It was him selfless. He would give his last, and he was loving and warm, and even me, his mother, who's supposed to know all these things and have all this knowledge, I could
Yes.
ask his advice on things, and he would have like sometimes my friends and they may have a disagreement, and they would say, "Well, she said this," and I don't think she was right. And he's like, "But mom, is it worth it?" Isn't she your good friend? Just let it go. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
it is amazing the length and time though short. I also had people who said to me that he's done so much more in his life than they ever even did in their entire life, and they're like 50 or 60 or whatever and haven't
Yeah.
even nearly as much as Joshua has. So
Yes.
I think all in all, I can just say that and only not just because I'm his mother. I also know that he was just truly an amazing young man and didn't deserve to go through, in my opinion, all that suffering because of lupus. We still haven't been able to really figure out like where it stems from because we had our daughter tested after his passing and she came back up with nothing showing any markers. We will retest her again, probably about 14 or 15. Dr. Flora recommended. She was the doctor that
Hmm.
also saw Josh's care at the end. Um,
Hmm.
but I haven't had my test. I'm intending to do it as well because we don't know like where in the family it could have gone or come from or whatever. So we intend to try to source it. But to be honest, I learned so much even before his passing when Dr. Clark was his private care doctor, and when he first told us that I think this time around because when he became ill he went into the hospital. He had a collapsed lung, he had pneumonia, he had so many things happened in that time that they could not figure out like where the basis of it was coming from. So there was no way to check for the lupus at that point because when you're so critically ill and your immune system is so compromised, doing a test for lupus would just give them like a false negative or a false positive. They would not be able to tell for sure that that was what it was. But Dr. Flower did consult with the rheumatologist and the McHugh doctors at that time, all phenomenal people. Dr. Anne-Marie Hassel and her team of nurses, let me tell you, I know that right now the healthcare system is under so much pressure, but those doctors, same Dr. Andrea Ford, Dr. Corey Ford was even consulting because he was trying to figure out if it's an infectious disease. He had the host of doctors behind him that were trying to just figure out what is happening with this child and how can we help him, what is happening, why did he become so critically ill with no history of being sick or anything like that, and it was like I mean nurses even when he woke up from being on the ventilator for 33 days he woke up with muscle weakness and muscle atrophy and had to relearn to walk and use his limbs and there were days he was frustrated because here I am in this MICU. I can't go home. My mother can't stay. My father can't stay. My sister can't see. I can't see my granny. And I just wanna go home. So he was frustrated. And those nurses used to take the time out of their day to stay with him and watch parts of a Netflix movie because they allowed us to bring his computer for him and they stayed with him one set of nurses together, washed his hair and twisted it for him some days. I mean, he had
Oh,
the love,
that's
those
sweet.
nurses and doctors, yeah.
Yeah.
They truly poured into him and his physiotherapist Kevin, we even became bonded with him through the time and became you became like a family and after he passed I remember saying to Dr. Hassel, I even sent her a message telling her how we couldn't even express the appreciation we have. I know they were just doing their job, but it was beyond that, in my opinion. And she said, in the time he was there, he became a part of them, and he's inspired them and moved them in ways that you couldn't imagine, even if you wanted to. We were told that even some nurses and doctors had to get counseling because they couldn't figure out like how did this child get so critically ill, go home, come back, and then he died like just all in one
Yeah.
swing.
Yeah.
It all happened just so quickly,
And
and
Joshua
mhm.
was effervescent. The thing about him, I know he was a very quiet boy. And when I got the news, I was really taken back because I said, Josh? No. You know, as another mother, another parent, you're thinking to yourself, but Josh is such a active, you know, not busybody. People might take busybody in the wrong term. When we say busy, he was always into something. And you never stopped talking about Josh. So even hearing you, I mean, it's giving me goosebumps. And I am feeling Josh through you. And if people don't understand it, it's as if, we know he's not here, but just talking about him brings back in my mind Josh in my mind. I'm seeing, I remember him moving about, running about, saying, "Mummy this and Mummy that." It's unbelievable.
It really is. I
Um,
think that's the word, the best word. I think everybody's used that word. Unbelievable, like unbelievable. So surreal.
yeah, yeah. Now, we've spoken about Josh. We know his activities. And to brighten the spot, tell us what was his favorite foods.
Oh, Josh's favorite food. As long as it was food, but he was a definite Haluk star because he believed in a Shafat. Like there was no other, like nothing else he could eat with Shafat. I even remember at the like when he was off of the ICU, we would take him to upstairs, and my mother would cook like all these healthy foods to send for him, spinach and rice. And Josh was not interested. He would eat some, but not so much. But then my husband Randy, Randy, he would take KFC, and Joshua would eat it. He would take something for Shafat, and Joshua would eat this whole thing, and you'd be like, but you couldn't eat before. He wasn't hungry without how. But his stomach found a way, and he loved roti and curry. His grandmother's, especially, like he would eat it from her. I think more than probably anywhere else. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so he did have some things that he really really enjoyed eating. He loved burgers, but he was just generally a foodie. I would say he tended to just like he loved flour pastries. I blame my husband for that because when he came along, he took up this child under his wing who became his son, and he made a decision that this is he's mine, and Joshua made a decision that's my father, and that's it. And he started to cook all these foods because he loves to cook, huh? So he would
Hmm.
do all the bakes he would make and everything, and Joshua just fell for a flour fast, and he believed in a jam puff and a meat roll. Pure. So
What
yeah,
was what was his relationship with his sister Gabby?
his relationship with her, oh boy. I mean, when she was born, he came to the hospital and he wasn't feeling well that day. He had caught his sinuses was really bugging out, so he wasn't feeling so great. But you see, when she came home, it was all about his sister, and when she could move around and stuff. I think I had some videos that I looked back and I posted at some point in the next, and he would let her do whatever. She comb his hair, she beat him with a comb. She throw the book on the phone, he gotta go for it, things he didn't
Ah,
want to do. And as they grew older, the dynamic for them was all about this play fighting. So she would go in his room and do him something. He would chase her, and then they all would end up back at me. And now mommy gotta come in to help the little sister because Joshua older, so I gotta help her. And, it was wonderful because he was a video gamer. He had his boys and they were gamers. But when his sister asked him to play a video game with her, he would settle time. He would say, "Okay, Gabby, let's plan to do it at 5." No matter what he's doing with his boys at that time, when 5 o'clock, he all for his sister. So yes, they did have
wonderful,
their fights and they did have the disagreements where he thought, "Mommy, see, when it was Gabby's age, you didn't let me do this, and when it was Gabby's age, you didn't let me do that, and now look how she doing this."
hmm.
Typical stuff. I'm sure that
How
you
is
experience the same with
how? Yes, I know that's a good experience as a parent because you would have had that with your siblings as well.
Oh yes, and it was the last, so of course.
How has Gabby taken the absence of her brother?
Surprisingly, I find that most people, and even her former teacher that would have taught her from like reception all the way through to class 2, class 1, and she has been like auntie. She became Auntie Rachel, and she said to me that I worry about her. I worry that she only looks like if she's doing well, and I say to people she is doing well. She does miss her brother every second as well, but it's different in that she talks about him because I believe in active remembrance. When I did my counseling and stuff, the counselor did say to me, she said, "Well, you're doing it the right way." People like to hide the pictures and put down the cameras so they can't look back at the person, but that's not me. I need to see him if he's still here all of the time.
Hmm.
And that is how we remember Josh, and that is how she manages. She talks about her brother, she would always say, yeah, that's something Joshua would do, you know, and they could see he now doing so and so and this and that.
Yes.
So, you know, it is the times, yes, she goes through phases where she's realizing that my brother is not gonna be here for us to maybe have our kids together. It can be Auntie Gabby or whatever as we get older.
Yeah.
So she knows that now, and she never wants to be an only child. Like whoever wants to plan that, right? But at the same breath, she she has continued to be a rock star, like a total rock star in this. And I
Yes.
mean, she knows that we are here. That if we need to see or talk about anything, and I don't hide my tears. If the tears come and she knows mommy's crying, she would rub me
Yes.
back, and we would talk about it and talk about whatever it is that's triggering you in that moment, and that's
Yes.
just how we do it. So yeah,
That's the best way.
yeah,
And something that I would have experienced with two deaths in my family. Well, I will have to talk about recent. If I have to go back, I would be putting a little way back. Um, I remember the loss of my late grandmother. Well, next month. Well, this month is going to be 4 years, as well as my son. Some people who don't know me don't know I have a son, other
yes,
than the family.
yeah, yeah, and I know, yep,
And losing someone so special, so dear to you, your your grieving process is very different. And like yourself, Gabby would have gone through it differently. Randy, your husband, would have gone through it differently, and yourself. And what I find sometimes, people shy away and they think, okay, well, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do. And they think, oh, I might say the wrong thing. Maybe if you say the wrong thing, it may not be necessary to be said. However, it is just that individual being there for you, even if they just want to hold you or sit with you and hold your hand.
yeah,
Sometimes that's comforting.
oh yes,
But I find Barbadians don't know how to handle grieving very well. The minority would, you know, and as you said, remembrance is important. And what I normally do, my family, well, my close knit family, we always make jokes about my late grandmother. And we would be rolling up in laughter because that's the best way to remember somebody.
hmm
You've had those moments where you say, you know, Dunsey wasn't easy. Man, when she brought the stick out the window and that used to hang out, she coming out swinging.
you
You
know,
know, th- those are things, as you said, you have to try to remember those moments which are
yes,
memorable, always.
oh
And
yes,
you never put down that individual at all
nope,
because
mm-mm.
there's a reason why they were here. We may question the reasoning, with the above, and say, why did it happen? How did it happen? Why could it be me? Those are questions that go through our minds.
And why did it happen this way? Like, why did they have to go through
Yeah.
this type of pain? And these things you ask, these are the questions I think you get the most for yourself. And there's so much, as you said, grief is not linear, and it's not anybody's identical scenario. Like, you
Mm.
and I both lose a son, but our scenarios of our sons are completely different of losing
Different.
sons. Even if your son was the same age Joshua was when he passed, it would still be a different experience because there's no same. It's completely different for every person and how they handle it. I think that you also go through periods where you think to yourself, okay, like for me, the hardest time now is now most of his former classmates and stuff, they are all going through periods. They're celebrating their 18th birthdays. They are getting their driver's license. There's so much of
Hmm.
it going on, and I'm seeing it all, and though happy for them, and I always make sure I message them so they know that I'm cheering them on. They're
Hmm.
like, but if Josh should be here too, and I'm doing it for Josh, and I'm grateful, super grateful that they are holding him in their heart the way they are, and
Yes.
it's amazing that they, for young people, they're handling it so well. But it is hard as a parent when you are looking
Hmm.
and dealing
Hmm.
with it. you're gonna be going through it fine, but then there's gonna be those quiet moments you're gonna sit and feel it like, what is this? What even is this that you're having to deal with? Like, who would have ever thought that if I could have gone all the way back to March, say last year,
Yeah,
somebody said that this is where we've been, and I tell me crazy, don't even say stuff like that, but
yeah,
here we
yeah.
are.
And I would say it's 17 years. Each year would have been momentous. So that's why I commend you as well
Yeah,
for doing a birthday party for him on his 18th birthday, because you will never forget
I cannot see it
the love
with
of your
any other
life.
hope.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us a
Yep,
bit
the
about,
first one to get out was him.
yes, yes, yes. um, Now tell us a little bit about a little project. I have to say a project because you corrected me. That's in honor of Joshua through the Hope Foundation. And I
Yes,
always like to bring forward things for my friends, family that are positive. When it comes to anything with children, I have a very deep passion about it. I
of
have
course.
a club I belong to, and they realize that I love children, and they know that I always push for things for children.
Yes,
So, and you know, Josh, well, I know you know Josh and we had a little thing for his birthday, and I think you said that he was bowled over by it, no matter the small thing it was, but he was really happy about it
yes,
when we did the little thing for his birthday.
yep, yes. He was very very happy. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, and the thing is that initially when I knew, well, I knew, the time is coming, so I started to think about all the things I want to do, what I want to do. I want to give back to the NICU. I want to help out with, just do something, because these doctors have done so much, and these nurses have done so much, and I want to give back for all that they have done.
Hmm.
But the truth is, I actually haven't been able to set foot into the QEH since Josh's passing. Since I left that night, I never have gone back to, even just driving by. No, it's better. It's not. I don't get the heart race and anxiety any longer. But before, just driving by would be like trying to catch myself. Like, oh no. So it's better
Yeah.
now. But I just still haven't been back to the hospital since then. Randy has to go often because of his job. He's constantly there, so it's not difficult for him. I know he did mention a few times that taking the walk after parking the vehicle into the hospital, he get like this wave of memories of stuff that happened, and you start to feel it. But it's gotten better for him too over this time. And when planning, I decided, okay, well, what I'll do is reach out to the Hope Foundation, because I laid on one day and I thought of the idea. So look, he's gonna be 18, and if we can maybe just when we do this celebration for his birthday, make this a post to send around amongst our friends and family and stuff, to have them donate $18 to the Hope Foundation in recognition of his 18th birthday, but also towards these group kits that the Hope Foundation are trying to push, especially now in this COVID time.
Hmm.
Persons who are immune compromised, even for persons with sickle cell, etc., that they wouldn't have to run to the hospital and doctor offices to get their tests for their like different their stats, their pressure and their urine and
Right.
things they've put together to give to them,
Hmm.
so they can have them at home, and they do it. And once they log the information, their doctor gets their information uploaded to them, so that they can keep track of their patients without them having to be in the space where they can get germs easily.
Right.
So I said, well, I don't want to just go and do it. I want to reach out to Hope and let them know, so that that you don't want any issues, or if it's a problem, whatever. So I called and I spoke to lovely met Shelly here for the first time, and she is amazing. She's truly amazing, and she listened and she said, "Listen, I'm having this wonderful idea. You're talking to me, Julia, and we are going to make this something great for Josh, because." Unknowns to me, Dr. Flower had already spoken to her. Well, she did mention she spoke to her when I wanted to do like the donation towards the hospital. She did
Hmm.
speak to her, but she didn't. I didn't know she spoke to her also really about how Josh was and who he was, and this type of thing. Dr. Flower had mentioned this, that the time he had gone back into the hospital, he was in a room on the bed with the sheet over his head, and she came in the room and she said, "Josh, why are you under the sheet?" But the light was too much for him, because persons who suffer with lupus can't do too much bright lights. They have light
Hmm.
sensitivity. So he was under the sheet, and she said, "No, Dr. Flower, just hiding because they don't really want you to see." you know how we're looking. I still want to give a good impression." And she laughed. She said, even in that moment, a week out from before he went back on the ventilator, he was still cracking jokes and his still lovely, lively self. She couldn't even imagine, you know. So all this she told to Shelly, and Shelly was like, you know, she heard so much about this boy, and she loved him. Didn't even know who he was, and she loved him, but just because of what she heard, and she
Mhm.
decided that we are going to do something great for Josh's birthday. So she
Mhm.
got on with her team, and she got on with the media, and we planned then to have these this flyer that did the same flyer that you have. They she got her media team to do that flyer, and then we planned then to have it advertised with the $18 or more, and people have been going in with the donations, and they've been doing more, a lot more than the 18. I've had people who brought cash to me. I have a list of names there, and when I collect, I'm just going to take all in and just try
Mhm.
to get so as much as possible for as many people as we can, because that is what he would want, because that is how he would give his last. So um so for definitely sure, we want to just continue to push it. She said the link has no expiration, and so we're just going to continue to push the link as much as we can and get as many donations while honoring his memory, and remembering, like, even though he had that short stint of lupus and he wasn't quite the fight for lupus in, let's say, like other persons who've had 30 years and 20 years under the belt, but he did fight a very admirable and very you know, a very gallant fight according to his Spanish teacher. You know, he was very gallant in his opinion in this fight. So absolutely, yes,
What I would also do is make mention to the folks out there that um, if they want the link in order to make their donation of $18 is www.cogni, I got it right,
yeah,
toforms.com slash capital HOPE foundation one slash in honor slash of Josh. So we want folks, I'm going to have that, it's actually on our Facebook page. I put up the flyers so folks can see exactly what it is in honor of Joshua. And I have to commend you and Randy and Gabby because it's a long haul, a year after, and he's never been forgotten by those close to you, your family and close friends. And we know that the turn for you to try to help another family is to see that you understand the road that they may encounter. You want to avoid some of the pain that the individual may go through. But at some point, that helping hand is very, very important.
yep.
Um,
System is
yes.
really
And,
critical.
and, and it's good to see it's still a healing process. That's
Absolutely.
important. It is still a healing process. And like others, I will be making my donation through the form. Um, and I will be continuing to encourage persons, like how I do when it comes to pediatric cancer and other cancers out there.
True.
Um, I think it is something that has brightened your life as well as Randy's and Gabby in a sense that there is a positivity coming from it.
Hmm.
And it's going to go further. It's not just going to stay here, it will go further. And with myself and others who are always on the show back and forth, we will make the effort to cheer it on, to highlight it more, and let people know the importance of good health, caring for yourselves, as well as the fact that sometimes that extra helping hand is always needed for somebody else. Yeah? Yes.
So I
So I don't want
totally
to take,
appreciate that. We really
yes,
do.
I
I
don't
mean,
want to,
it's I
beautiful,
yeah, it's
yes,
really
you're
important
most
to
welcome.
have people still. like I said, hold on to Josh. You know, even bringing him along is it's very important to us, and to have the outreach of people who are still around us, still lifting us up, still holding us up, and a lot of that, you know, in itself. Yes, we may seem like most people say to me, and I'm strong, and it's like not my strength. And my strength is always with God, with Father's strength. But it is
Definitely.
him pouring everybody into us that's keeping us going. Every single person who even thought of, like how you just thought of this now to have me on the show. You know, it's important, and even with work going on, whatever, I know I was making the time to do this today because this still is more important to me than, yes, even work, because for me I'm always family first. Like my children and my husband is like
Well, I
family
know
first
that.
to me.
I know you for that.
So you know, it is the truth. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go and get this done because I yes work, but at the end of the day, this is also important. So I really appreciate you taking the time to slot me in here, and also for continuing to push the link as well as much as we can.
Yes, and that's what we do. That's what we do. We continue to push positivity for our show. And as the headline states, we like to keep it real. We
Yep,
allow our
yep,
guests to say how they feel. Well, obviously, we haven't been liable or anything, but we want our guests to feel at home and comfortable and know that anything they want to let not just Barbados, but those who do follow us from Canada and the UK, let them know what is really happening in Barbados because one thing has overpowered important things in Barbados, and we know what it is, the pandemic.
yep, yep. The
So,
pandemic.
little bits at a time helps everybody to get back to a little bit of normalcy. We
True.
can't do it all in a big bang, but whatever little bit we can do, we will keep doing it. And that is keeping it real, not
Keeping
just
it
for
real.
Barbados, but for everybody.
Yeah.
And I am very happy, Delia, for what you're doing, as I said. And note that for keeping it real, we will be providing a star for you as well as Josh. And but I know you follow the page. So you would
Yes.
see it on our page. Everybody who comes on gets a star.
Oh, thank
Okay?
you.
So,
Thank
folks,
you.
thank you to Delia for coming on the show this afternoon. We are delighted to hear the good things that are happening, the healing process. And at the same time, we always remind everyone, remember to wear your mask, sanitize, social distance, pick up the phone, call your friend, let them know you're thinking about them. Just that call to brighten their day will certainly make it. So remember, we're just here, keeping it real with Mary. Do have a beautiful week and look forward to seeing you next week with a special guest again. God bless and have a good one. Bye bye.